This is Good Morning Kenya. Thank you for staying with us. My name is Vivian Ndegwa, and right now we jump on to yet another discussion right here on the show, and we will be looking at drug abuse among the youth in Kenya. And for this conversation, I am joined by Rita Hayo. She is the Capacity Building Officer, NACADA. And according to a report, it shows that 1 in every 6 people between the ages of 15 and 65 in Kenya are abusing at least one drug. So we're going to be looking at this statistic and try to look at where exactly the root cause of all this is at and how to try and avert that. And Rita is right here for that. Good morning.
Good morning, Vivian.
You're doing well?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Now, if I look just from the statistics, you know, 1 in every 6 people between the ages of 15 and 65, and I feel like 15 is quite young, you know,
Sure.
are using at least a drug. That is the statistics in Kenya right now. What is causing this, maybe?
All right, Vivian, thank you so much for having me. Thank you, KBC. So looking at the statistics, the national survey that was conducted in 2022 on alcohol and drug abuse in the country, actually, whatever you're saying is true. The abuse is growing day in, day out, and there are many factors that are attributed to this. And as we go on with the discussion, we'll be looking at these kind of factors, and a majority of them are environmental, coupled with the personalities of the people. And looking at the statistics, basically the youth, you see, as per the Constitution, let us put it at between 15 and 35 of age. When you look at it, you see the ages of 15 to 24, they're more into use of bangi. And the age of 25 to 35, more using alcohol. And actually, looking at the statistics, alcohol is the leading drug that people are abusing commonly.
Yeah. So the most commonly abused drugs in Kenya are alcohol and bang.
Sure.
Yeah.
But if you go with the statistics, it begins with alcohol, followed by the tobacco products. Followed by cat, and then now that is where now bangi cannabis come in. Yes, at number 4. But worldwide, if you look at the World Drug Report that was released for 2024, remember we normally celebrate the International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking on the 26th of June. If you look at that report again, you will see now worldwide cannabis is leading. So like worldwide is cannabis, and then the opioids, because there's this emerging trend of the synthetic drugs. Yes.
Well, let's get into the causes. You talked about the environmental factors, you know, that are leading to the drug abuse or the increase of drug abuse that we're experiencing right now in the country. So what are some of these environmental causes? Okay,
let me begin by saying we look at the causes as per the setting. And this setting begins from the family setting, because that is the first place where a person or a child is brought up. So we have the family setting. So within this family setting, there are various factors that can make one use or not choose to use. And this begins with the kind of family that you're brought up in. What are the values that the family hold dear? How are you bringing up your children? When children are growing up, are you the kind of a parent that you permit or allow use of alcohol and drugs within the family? How is the environment within the family? Is it a warm, welcoming environment that this child can thrive without many other challenges like lack of school fees, lack of care, and all that? So from the family, we look at the second setting, and the second setting is the school. We look at the setting as per how they transition. So because from family, now this child goes to school. So in school, what is happening around the school? The school environment. Is it somewhere that the teachers are taking their responsibility to nurture a child's kind of to bring up a child in a way that is permitted as per the school guidelines, the school rules, the school policies? Is this a compound where they permit sale of these kind of substances? Because sometimes the research has shown that in schools, this is somewhere that we have peddlers bringing in some of these drugs, alcohol, and all those sorts of things. So we look at that, and NACADA has also come up with guidelines because of this. Guidelines that will help to look into issues of alcohol and drugs within the school compound. And some of the things we are talking about is when you are putting up kiosks, allowing people to sell things like the mandazis, all these things that they bring maybe when they're having school games. Are you able to vet these people who are doing business around the school compound so that you get to know that whatever they're selling to the kids are not things that are also laced? From the school setting, now we go to the workplace. So at the workplace, what can also affect this kind of workers at this workplace? Are they the stressors within the workplace? How conducive is the work environment for this employee? From the workplace, now we go to the community. So you see, in every setting here, there are reasons and many other things that can make you to either become a partaker or not to. We have people who have never tasted alcohol since they were born. We have people who have never used bangi, any other drug since they were born. Yes. So when I talk about the environment, there are those environments that we are able to make a difference. When you talk about family, we talk about school, and we talk about the workplace. These are environments where if you and me, Vivian and Richard, decide that my house will never have anyone coming in drunk, will never have anyone drinking alcohol within my house, or at the workplace, you have policies and you decide, here you can never come in drunk. And if you have a drinking problem, how do we then help you? You come up with policies to take care of the people who are affected by issues of alcohol and substances.
Addiction, Now, accessibility of some of these drugs is what is also aiding, you know, the increase of the use of alcohol and some of the substance abuse. So is there something that is being done, matters accessibility, that it is not as easily accessible, especially to the younger children, because a 15-year-old is still a child. You know?
So matters availability and accessibility has been also another challenge. And please remember, with our new constitution, the constitution that we have now, issues of licensing are devolved. So basically, issues of availability, when we see the mushrooming outlets everywhere, then we are also thinking about the county government. So we say the county government should tighten its rope so that we do not have all these mushrooming outlets everywhere, near schools, near residential areas where now children can easily access. And again, we have our Alcoholic Drinks Control Act 2010. This is the mother of all the county laws on liquor licensing and all that. So every other county has come up with their law that is based on what is in the mother law, which is the ADCA 2010. So in this law, we say you are not supposed to sell to children under the age of 18. So even when you see some people allowing or some people just selling to people who are under 18, they're not doing it right. And we ask ourselves, where are our values and our morals? Because if you are into liquor business and you know very well the law does not permit sale to under 18, why are you selling to them? So sometimes we also say it stems from parenting. As a parent, what values have we instilled in our children? To let them know that you are under 18. What business do you have even going to the club or even the wines and spirits shop? And sometimes you see even in our families, some of our relatives are the same people who send our children to these outlets, maybe even to buy for them. If you look at the statistics, you find that the initiation period for tobacco is 6 years.
Wow.
Yes. It's 6 years. And this means, how have these children learned that they can smoke? They have learned because someone was sending them to sell, to go and get them, maybe a single stick or something. from the shop.
That curiosity,
so that
maybe.
way their curiosity gets growing, and with time they also try to experiment. Yes.
What are the legal consequences? Because you said, you know, there's that act that you follow or that you abide by. What are the legal consequences?
Okay, the act stipulates that children are not supposed to be entering pubs, wines and spirits, restaurants, anywhere where alcohol is sold. But you see, and there are fines attached to it. But in our country, Kenya, you see, parents are the first people to take their children to the pub. And sometimes you have our officers going around. And when they meet you with your children and they know this is a place selling liquor, they tell you, madam or mom or dad, please leave. Children are not supposed to be here. Because, you know, we cannot arrest the underage, of course. Yes? Yeah. It is you, the parent, who is doing something that is not permissible. And there are fines attached to the same. I have just said that. Okay. Yes.
All right. So what is the connection between drug abuse and mental health disorders? Because sometimes they kind of, you know, correlate. So what is the connection?
So with drug abuse and mental illness, actually, there's a very thin line between the two. Yes. Yeah. So you find someone with a mental illness will easily use drugs or alcohol to cope. Yeah. And someone who is taking alcohol or other drugs, they always have an underlying reason. And this underlying reason can crop from issues of stress, depression, and all that. And this eventually gets to mental illness. Yes.
Yeah. Are there long-term physical or even mental effects of using, you know, or abusing some of these substances?
Sure, they are, Vivian. Especially when you use cannabis. Cannabis is associated with the long-term, you know, most of these drugs we use, especially, they have two kind of feelings. The two kind of effects. The primary effects, and they have the secondary effect. For the primary effect is the feel good that we all want to get associated with. I drink because I want to feel high. I smoke, I puff because I want to get stimulated. And each and every drug has a different kind of effect on the body. There are those that stimulate you or raise your heart rate or your feeling, you know, you get hyper, and there are those that depress you, the depressants. So we have the stimulants, the depressants, and all that. So basically, for something like cannabis, when you take cannabis over a long period of time, it gets to the stages where now you get into a condition called schizophrenia. This is now the deeper side of the mental illness. And that is how we end up seeing people with mental disease out here, and a majority of Kenyans refer to them like mwendazimu, you know. Yes.
And some
and this is actually, Vivian, this is actually because alcohol and all these other substances, they target the brain center. Yes. They target the brain center. So everything you do that is connected with alcohol and drugs is affecting your central nervous system. And the central nervous system basically is the brain and the spinal cord. So, and remember, we all know that the brain is the main driver of our body. So once the brain is fractured, is injured, and then that is it.
Yeah. Yes. It's very dangerous, you know, when you put it that way, then the dangers are... the danger is just so obvious. Now, are there people who are more prone to addiction?
First, let us realize that addiction is a brain relapsing disease. Actually a chronic brain relapsing disease. Chronic, it takes over time. And our addiction varies from one person to another. There are people who will be drinking, there are people who will be using these substances, but they do not get into addiction.
Exactly.
Actually.
Yeah.
And this is so because addiction is dependent on very many other factors, like the gender, male or female, Like ladies progress more faster to addiction than men.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
And this is so because our water content in our bodies is much lower as compared to the male, yes. And also sometimes you find with male, they have an enzyme in their body called the alcohol dehydrogenase, which helps them digest their alcohol faster. And then again, it's also dependent on if you are having any other underlying condition. Maybe you are sick, you have any other sicknesses, you are taking other medication, and again you are drinking. You are prone to get into addiction faster. Again, another thing is if you start drinking early, if you are introduced to issues of alcohol and drugs earlier, especially the teenage, then the probability of getting into addiction is much more higher than if you started at the age of let's talk of 21.
Yeah.
And that is why even in our Alcoholic Drinks Control Act 2010, we are saying at least we allow the brain to develop. This is so because brain matures at the age of 25. Yes, it doesn't stop growing, but the maturity point of the brain is 25 years. So we are saying let the children's brain develop. You can imagine this is a child whose brain is trying just to get together and to form, and then you're introducing alcohol, which has all this poison, the ethanol and what have you. So it confuses the baby even more. So that is why we are saying allow the children's brain to develop so that they do not have these future problems of getting into addiction. So addiction again is dependent on many other factors, and we are even told if you must drink, eat fast, so that when this alcohol gets into the system, it is getting something like a base. Yes.
Yeah. Well, we learn something new every day. I didn't know that women are more prone to addiction than men, so that's a first for me.
It is called telescoping.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. Maybe what are some of the signs that one can look out for, say for a mother who has this son who's into maybe drugs, but they're not sure? Are there telltale signs that they can pick up and maybe try find help for them?
Okay, thank you. Currently, we see families where everyone is busy. We see families where parents are they become workaholics. You go to work in the morning, you come back in the evening, you just change, maybe get a shower, and you are onto your laptop, you're working. You don't know where your children are, you don't know whether they have eaten, you don't know what they're doing in their rooms. So it is very, very important that as parents, we be present, we be responsive, and we get involved in what our children are doing. Because that is the only way that you will know whatever changes your child might be showing. Things like having family rituals, it is very important. Have your meals together at the table. Maintain eye contact with your children, you know. Because these teenagers, at some point when they are into something mischievous, they tend to avoid the eye contact because maybe they are feeling like, you know, once you take a drug or alcohol, whatever it is, it alters your normal functioning.
True.
Your behavior will just change. So when you get into the habit of following through and knowing what and where your child is, you'll be able to tell. Visit their rooms. You'll be able to tell if they're throwing their clothes all over. They're just shaggy and shabby in the room. You'll be able to tell. Then you'll start asking, what is happening with my son? If it is a child who has been dressing so clean, so neat, and all of a sudden things have changed, they are into this ragged and they are not combing their hair, you need to find out what might be happening. What is the change? And also sometimes some of them lose appetite, others eat more. For instance, those who are using cannabis, their appetite might just grow. Yeah, such kind of things.
All right. So with that, I mean, it's very important you cannot tell when something has changed if you are never in the lives of these children. So you have to be present and like really actively present in it, you know. And what is the impact, you know, of the increasing number of alcohol and substance abuse in the country generally for the society?
Okay, thank you. Of course, there are legal implications We have seen people who do drunk driving. And then, of course, there are accidents that come with that.
Okay.
So apart from legal, we also have issues of diseases, sicknesses. Of course, issues of, if you look at something like tobacco, which of course has the nicotine thing inside, a lot of cardiovascular diseases come with it, the cancer diseases. And then we also have issues of family breakups. And for the youth, of course, we have economic implications. People are not working. People are not waking up. You see the current crop of the people we have waking up at midday. They sleep at 3 a.m. They wake up at midday. And then you're thinking, will this one be able to go out there, look for a job and just wake up at 6, prepare and leave and yes, such kind of things. So the implication is far wide. We have family breaking up. We have children in school who are also dropping in their performance. Such kind of things.
All right. Sure. Okay, and I'll have to cut you short on that and maybe on this particular interview because we need to link up with our reporter Aziz, who is on ground in Kisii. We know that the president is on a development tour in Kisii County. Yesterday, we saw him launch the Nyaribari Chache Cancer Center, whereby when that happens, we'll be taking you right back there. Back to you, Madam Rita. As we come to a close of this conversation, because of time, maybe how effective are rehabilitation centers? Because maybe there's someone who's watching us right now, they're an addict or they have a family member or friend who is an addict and they're considering rehabilitation. So are they effective? How effective are they and how accessible are they? And do we have enough rehabilitations in the country?
Okay. Thank you so much, Vivian. Rehabilitation centers are effective, yes. And let me mention this, that healing comes from inside you. So you find there has been a culture in Kenya where people are forced into rehabilitation centers. So if you take me without my willingness, chances of my recovery might be very minimal. So what I can say is rehabilitation is effective, but again, make sure that you are visiting the NACADA website to be able to take your people to the rehabs that we have accredited. Okay. Because this is a business that other people have also gotten in. Some have not come through us. So as a Kenyan, I can advise you go through NACADA. You can also call our toll-free number, 1192, for advice. They will, yes, 1192 is a toll-free number, 24 hours, 7 days a week. So before you even think about rehabilitation, always talk to your people. You can also do counseling and you do screening before you reach the point where you are assessing and now referring this person to the treatment facility. And I want to mention, just as we wind up, that as a country, let us look at the emerging trends. Our children are getting very clever with the kind of chemistry they're learning in school. There's the issues of vaping, and there's the issues of emerging trends where they are using these emerging, the synthetic drugs. So at times where they do polydrugging and mix all these things, you might not be able to tell what particular drug they're using. So let us be vigilant with our people around us, whether it is our colleagues, whether it is our children, that these things called vaping, they're not safe. These are marketing gimmicks. They are not safe. Vape is something that has nicotine inside. And nicotine, basically that tobacco. So if you see your children with these kind of gadgets within the house, sometimes it's not easy to tell. The gadgets look very stylish, like you would be thinking maybe this is a flash disk, this is a pen, and they're flavored. So please let us all be vigilant with our children, and hope is not lost. A majority of youth are not even using drugs and alcohol. Many of them are just doing the experimental thing. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us and shedding light on this conversation. And there's a toll-free number, as Madam Rita has just mentioned to us, if you happen to know someone who's struggling with addiction, or if you want to get any information on maybe addiction and whatnot, there's the toll-free number, which is 1192. You can have that maybe saved on your phone, maybe for later use. And this is where we end Good Morning Kenya for today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Now, we'll finish off here from us on Good Morning Kenya, but there's a lot more going to be happening. Of course, we are expecting the president to get to launch the affordable housing in Kisii, and then we also have the Senate proceedings. Goodbye.